Maybe a spoken.
Fine. Yeah, up to Amar Rafram. That's Amar Rafram is we're going to get up to on Yud Gimel. All right, fine. So we left off last two words on the bottom of Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Today is Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Today is Daf Yud Beis. So let's go ahead. Amar Rav Chizda says Rav Chizda Hadamar Tamisan in the shows that which we said. One is able to be mis'ana l'shos, right? Even have a fast for a certain amount of hours. V'hu shelo klum ad erev. He actually hasn't eaten anything the entire day until the evening. That's what it's called to be mis'ana l'shos. You know, he can't eat in the morning. He can't eat up until dark. He doesn't eat the entire day. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean? This is that's a full-fledged fast. Why is it any different than a fast? So it's no, where he changed his mind. In other words, he only basically decided mid-fast, right? He was already 11 o'clock in the morning. He says, you know what? I haven't eaten all day. I feel good. I'm just going to continue it as a fast. So such a case, when he decides in the middle of the day, he was not makabel tinus, and then he finishes it, that's what it's called. It's not that you eat in the morning and says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and fast this afternoon. That's not even considered to be mis'ana l'shanos. Mis'ana l'shanos is you haven't eaten all day, but he's only makabel in the middle of the day. Any tinus that the sun does not set, he doesn't take it till the end of the day, is not considered to be a tinus. So Meisvei Asukash says Anshe Mishmar, the people of the Mishmaros, the Kohanim used to go ahead and work in the Mikdash. Misanin v'loy mashlimin. They used to be misana. They would fast, but they wouldn't finish it. In other words, they wouldn't fast the entire day. They would fast close to the end of the day. Then they would eat before. So the Gemara answers, no, Hasan Latzir Nafshe Ba'almo. Over there they weren't fasting. It wasn't B'Shem B'Taras fast day. Rather, they were being mitzvah themselves. In other words, they wanted to take the day serious, and therefore they withheld from eat and drink. But it wasn't necessarily being makabel an official fast. And Tashma, come listen to Amar Rabbi Eliezer Bar Tzadok. Ani mibnei ben Avishal, son of Ben Binyamin. I am from the family of Sana ben Binyamin, from Shev Binyamin. And this family, amongst other families, when they were short of having wood, they provided wood to the Mikdash, and basically they were each given a day of where they would continue to provide a wood. So this day was basically a holiday for the family of Sana ben Binyamin. And one time, Tisha B'Av, Tes B'Av Liyos B'Shabbos, fell on a Saturday and a Shabbos. And they pushed it off to Sunday. They pushed off to Sunday, which was Yud Av. Now, Yud Av was the holiday every year. Yud Av was the holiday of Sana ben Binyamin. We fasted that day, but we didn't finish the fast. In other words, the Sunday Tisha B'Av, they only took it up until the end of the day.
What kind of a chag did they have at Yud?
They had a chag for this family from Shevet Binyamin because they provided wood. There was no wood, and they provided wood, so they were given the distinct honor every year of providing wood on this day. So this day was a holiday for this family, for the family of Sanav ben Binyamin. So it turned out that when it's a Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, so it's pushed off till Sunday. So their holiday and Tisha B'Av is the same day. So they would fast up until the end of the day, but they wouldn't completely fast on the entire day, right? Because that was their day, and their day of Megillas Tainas supersedes the Tisha B'Av that's pushed up. Because it was their Yantif. So you see that they didn't fast the entire day, they fasted before Shkia. So over there, once again, even though they observed Tisha B'Av, they just observed Tisha B'Av to be like everybody else. However, it was not considered, they were not makabel an official fast of Tisha B'Av on the 10th of Av because that was a holiday for them. And Tashma, come listen, so he's very smart. Rabbi Yochanan, he says, every day he would sit in Tanis until I get to my house. I get to my house, then I could eat. But until then, I'm fasting. So over there, how could he only fast partial, right? So part of the day. So once again, what it says, no, over there, he didn't want to be invited to the Bein Asiyah. He wanted to get involved in politics. He didn't want to be invited to the guests in other places. So therefore, he had a shita, I only eat in my house. So therefore, he wasn't makabel upon himself a fast, and he'd only be a partial fast. Rather, it was just a mitzvah nafshay. And Omar Shmuel Kol Tanis Shalei Kibel Avni B'Yayim Lav Shmei Tanis, any Tanis that was not makabel from before is not considered Tanis. V'Yosef Mai. And if he sits, then what is it considered? If he does fast without being makabel from the day before, so Rav Shila Demei, so Dami the Mefucha Demalia Zika. All right, it's like a one of those what are those bellows? So yeah, the bellows there are full of air, right? In other words, basically, you're filling yourself, instead of filling yourself with food, you're filling yourself with air, but it's for nothing. It does not count as a fast. Now, Amos Mekabel. When is one Mekabel a fast? So Rav Omar b'mincha, u'Shmuel Omar b'tfilas mincha. Shmuel says tfilas mincha. All right. Shmuel says during the tfilas mincha the day before, you're Mekabel the fast. Rav says mincha, right? So the machlokes is actually over here what Rav means, right? Does he actually mean it has to be the mincha time of the day before, or could it just mean he's just saying in general, right? Not tfilas mincha, but mincha, in other words, any time before. Right, anytime before, which is really, if you look at the Gemara, it sounds a little bit like those opinions that hold, right? Machlokes Rishonim as to what mincha means. But in other words, Shmuel holds that the dafka has to be b'tfilas mincha, and Rav says no, it's just that you have to be makabel at some point before, whether it's the afternoon before or any afternoon before or any time before. That's Machlokes Rishonim. So let's see the Gemara. And Amar Rav Yosef, Kvasei the Shmuel Mistavra. It's logical to say like Shmuel. Why? It says Megillas Tainis Lahen Kol Inish Diyaisei Lua Mikademes Dana. Yeser. So it says, whoever knows they have these holidays of Megillas Tanis. However, whoever has these days before, let's say a person was makabel upon himself a certain amount of fasts, right? The Rashi, for example, he did 10 or 20 fasts, right? He was makabel upon himself for the year. And all of a sudden they have this holiday in Megillas Tanis. They said, okay, now this day is a celebration. I got a problem. I have a scheduling conflict because I was already makabel a fast. So it says over there, Kol Inish Mikdames, whoever from before, Dana, before this, yes, yeser. He shall prohibit. Yeser. So my love yeser asno b'silo. Does it not mean that he should prohibit, i.e., in other words, the mincha before, he should prohibit again. In other words, since he's already makabel, I'm gonna do all the fast, he still has to be makabel every day or before every fast, before mincha. So the Gemara says, no, yeser asmo. It means he's already prohibited. And pligiba, like we see the machlokes between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shimon, like that, which is the machlokes between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shimon Rabbi. Chadom Yeser. One says that if he is a makabel fast from the beginning of the year, then he shall prohibit himself, even though it's the holiday, using the mincha shmona esrei. Right now, he shall prohibit himself. He still has to do something else to make himself usher, to go ahead and to make himself usher for eating. The Chad Yeser. He's already forbidden. So in other words, he was makabel for. So the one who says yes, he should prohibit means that he has to be makabel for the. Let's say he said, the 5th of every month I'm going to fast, right? So the 4th of every month he shall prohibit himself again during tfilas mincha from before that. Tomorrow I'm not going to eat or drink, even if it overrides a holiday of Megillas Tainis. And the other one, that one says Yaser. In other words, he's already Aser, meaning I don't have to be makabel upon himself anymore. I was already makabel for every 5th day of the month, right? So Mahi, and where do we see this? The time of the Bryce Megillas Tainis, it says over there in Megillas Tainis, Kol Inish Diyaisei Aleh Mikdamenes Dana Yaser. Right, whoever has basically from before, he's ready makabel fast from before, he shall be prohibited. In other words, he already prohibited those days of eating and drinking. He should not observe it as a celebration. Ketzad, how so? Let's say a person says, okay, every Monday and Thursday, I'm going to go ahead and fast. Right? The whole year, Tuesday and Monday and Thursday, the whole year. And then the Rabbanan are guys, they're held in one of those days, and it happens to be a Thursday, right? If his neder was before the gzeira that says, okay, now we're going to observe this day as a holiday, but his neder came 2 years before because he's been fasting every Monday and Thursday for years. His neder supersedes it. He's already forbidden. He doesn't have to be makabel anymore. He's already forbidden his nether of being fasting on Mondays and Thursdays. Already supersedes it. However, if they're gzeira that says, okay, we've been fasting this, we've been celebrating this day for years, and only afterwards you came in and says, okay, every Monday and Thursday I'm going to go ahead and fast, and it turns out that one of the Thursdays falls on one of the days of Megillas Tainus, then then the Gzeira, the holiday, overrides his nether, and therefore those days are forbidden for fasting because it is a holiday. Fine. 6 lines from the bottom. Tana Rabban. Ad Masai Eichel B'Sheisel. Until one, so we described before that these are the types of fast a person can go ahead. He only starts technically in the morning. So one opinion says until the morning dawn, right? Until the morning dawn, until the rays start coming up. Divi Rebbe has been a Rebbe. Rabbi Yezer Reb Shimon Aimer ad Kreisa Gever, until the calling of the rooster, right? The first the first calling of the rooster, which I think is even before that zman of when the first lights out, right? And Amar Abaye, and says Abaye lo yishanu elo shaloi gamer sudasa. We're only talking about if he did not finish his meal. In other words, let's say he was up very late and he didn't finish his meal, so then he's allowed to go ahead. About Gomer Sudaso, but let's say he finishes his meal, right? 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, 2 in the morning, whatever it is. After that, once you finish, you bench, you put away your table, you're done. Esve, Yasu Kasha, Rava Gomar, Amad. Is it? You go right here. Chair right here. You go right here. Right here. You got extra. So we say.
Next to the rabbi.
So Amar Rabba. What was it? No. So Esve Yasu Kasha. So Rabba Gomarvi Amad. Harei Ze'oichel. So says Rabba. So person finished eating. Right, and we just said before, once you finish eating, you're done. You can't start a meal again, right? The Amad, and he gets up. Harei Ze'oichel, you can still eat. So my answer is no. Hasam Shloisile over there, he didn't remove his table. He knows, yes, he finished eating, but his table was still out. So therefore, it wasn't an official completion of the meal. And he could some of a different version of this. Amar Rabba Loishanu Elok Shelo Yashan. When he didn't go to sleep yet, right? He didn't go to sleep yet, and therefore he can eat the entire evening. About Yashan, once he goes to sleep. No eichel. You can't wake up and eat before the fast. So I'm sorry. Some people do, right? It depends on how early it is. So Abaye, my question. Yashan be'amad harei ze eichel. Person goes to sleep and he wakes up. He can eat. So it's a kasha. So my answer is no. Hasam b'misnam name. Over there, he's misnam name. He's dozing off. So what does it mean? He didn't really fall asleep and wake up. He was dozing off, and then he can still eat after he dozes off. So Eichadam Misnanim. So what does it mean Misnanim? Some Ravashi says, Nim below Nim and Tir below Tir. In other words, he's sleeping. Right? Turn the page. He's sleeping, but he's not sleeping. He's up, but he's not up. How so? But he's dozing off. The Kari Leviani. As you call his name, and he answers, yeah, what? But he can't really answer his star. He's not really thinking, right? He doesn't really start, and then if they remind him, he won't remember the conversation, but if they remind him what was said, then I remember, right? So such an occurrence is when one is dozing off, so he's not completely there, but he'll remember. Fine. Amar Rav Kahana, Amar Rav Yachid Shekila Lav Tainus Asr Benilas Hasandal. Yachid, a guy was makabel a fast, and wasn't sure. Now, there's different types of fasts, as we'll soon see. There was the first series of fasts that we're talking about. It's actually going to be 3-3-7, right? The first series of fasts, if it didn't rain, so they have the first 3 rains, right? During the Revi'ah Rishon, during the first rains. If those don't come, then we said they have a series of 3 fasts. Now, those 3 fasts, one is just you don't eat. You're allowed to wear leather. You can do basically everything else, right? You just can't eat during the day. So a yachid is makabel upon himself a fast, right? So he shouldn't wear leather shoes. Because we're worried about the type of fast he was makabel. Perhaps he was makabel type of fast that requires no leather shoes. So so what you do?
Tanit in general or specifically from Kshanim?
No, Tainus in general, right? He's makabel upon himself a Tainus.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So also but that means a sandal, Chayshinan, Shema Tainus Sibos, kilos. What you do? So Amar Rabba Bar Rav Shil. Lemachi, Lamachar, Lefanecha Betanis Yachid. He should say tomorrow, right? I'm only going to be in a Tainus Yachid. I'm not going to be a Tainus Sibur, right, which we'll soon see was on everybody that they should do, right, that they should do everything. Rather, it was the Yachid we saw earlier, the Chidim, they were the ones, the Rabbanan, who fasted in the first set of 3, which was just not eating, but they're allowed to go ahead and wear shoes and all that. So therefore, you say, I should be makabel upon himself a tainus Yachid. And number later, Rabbanan, the Rav Sheshes, ha-kachezin, Rabbanan, the Misamaya Misaneu, yes, the Beit Tanista. But we see in the Rabbanan that they've when they've been wearing their shoes, and they come to the to go ahead and daven on a day of day of tinus. In other words, they do wear shoes. And Ikbid, and he got angry. Rabbi Lu, he thought that was wrong. Knows they can't wear the shoes. They shouldn't wear the shoes because they should be concerned that perhaps it was a tinus tzibur. And he says they're wearing shoes. They might also have eaten. Right? What's the proof there? Right? And Abai Rava Ma'ala Kimistame Afnasa. So Abai and Rava. So
Rav Sheshes just being machmir.
So he said earlier, right? I mean, Rav said earlier that a yachid should keep a love time is also b'niyas hasan. So Rav is the one who said that. So Rav Sheshes was. I'm sorry.
Which is not what we do.
Well, we don't do that, right? So we I mean, we don't really generally don't do tinus yachid, but when we have our fast days, right? Those are in the category of the tinus, right? And so Abai v'Rav Maliki Smaya Afnasa, they used to go ahead and only wear like the top leather, but not on top and not the bottom. And Meremer Marzutra Machlife Diamina Lasmola Yamine, they would switch around the right to the left to the right. So basically, it wouldn't be the normal comfort of wearing the leather shoes. And Rabbanan Debei Ravashi Nafik Rachayu, they would go out the normal way. And Saviki Had Damar Shmuel Ein Tan Sibur Bavel El Tishva. They said no, that all the fast days are in Bavel. Right, those are all, those are all. This is mutter. The only time it's forbidden to do is on the fast of the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av Bova. Fine. And Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Loive Adam Tanisa Upareya. A person is makabel a tanis, and all of a sudden it doesn't work with the schedule. He can basically borrow from it. In other words, he'll eat today, and another time he'll go ahead and fast. He'll pay it back. So can we say, the Shmuel is for Shmuel, Amarle? So Amarle, the nether kibela, what was it? Nether, he was just a tanis. The Sagi all right. All right. What was it, a nether that he had to do? Basically made a nether. He was going to fast today. It wasn't a nether. It's fine. It's your nafshe kibela. So he was makabel by himself to be mitzar himself, right? To put himself in discomfort. So he mati mitzar le nafshe. If he saw that he was able to be mitzar himself that day, he could do it. And he lo mati lo mitzar nafshe. And if he did it, he wasn't. He didn't have to go ahead and make himself suffer. So in other words, one is not. It's not a nether, and therefore, if you can't do it, so you do it another time. No big deal. And Ika the Amri is some opposite version. Amar Rav Yud, Amar Rav, a person go ahead and he can basically go ahead and borrow, from his fast, i.e., repay it another time if he doesn't do this day. And can we say the Shmuel Amar Pshita? It's obvious, right? He has to go ahead. If he doesn't do it today, he has to do it another time. Why? It's like a nether. And nether miloi matzi boy the shlimei meza lemachar uliyamachrina. By nether, we find a person says, "I'm going to go ahead and do whatever. I'm going to go ahead and give someone a loaf of bread. I don't give him a loaf of bread today. I'll give him a loaf of bread tomorrow."
So today the makbid, when you say that, you have to say bli neder.
Right. So right. So the Kabbalah, right? In the lashon, right. And Rav Yeshua.
We say chutz mid tanis tzibur.
No, but they done it yachid. What you talking about?
Right.
But I think in the Mincha Shmona Esrei, I think in the end there's like a little supplication.
Right.
Right.
When we do hataras,
right. If he doesn't accept those public fasts. Right.
No, not public fasts.
I was like, accept the fast.
Private fasts.
If one remembers this, we'll look at the lashon afterwards. Let's go back to it.
Okay.
So Rav Yeshua Berei Davidi, Ikla Lebei Ravasi. So one time Rav Yeshua Berei Davidi, he was by the house of the Yeshiva Ravasi of Dule Igla Tilsa. So he made him, this very medium rare lamb chops, right? A nice young calf. So I'm relay. So Lito, actually not lamb, calf chops, right? So I'm relay Lito Marmid. You have some of this Igla Tilsa. It's the finest meat. So I'm relay Batanisa Yasvina. I'm fasting today. Right? Why don't you go ahead? Okay, so you'll borrow today, i.e., so eat today and then fast another time. Right? You don't hold that what your Rav says that you can go ahead and basically borrow your fast and do it another time. So he said back to him, no, tanis chalom. This is a tiny chalom. Now is this? I'm fasting because I had a very bad dream. The Amar Rabba bar Machsia Amar Rav Chama bar Guria Amar Rav Yofet tanis lecholom ke'esh lenuros. Right, that a good is a fast, basically to go ahead and heal from a bad dream, just like fire. Right, can basically consumes flax. In other words, the tinus consumes the dream, just like fire consumes the flax.
Is this a psychological thing, or is this something to take away the zero, so to say? Because usually there's some truth to the dream.
Yeah, no. Take with the xera. There's something bad. He sees a bad thing, right. So he wants to remove that. Right. The Amar Rav Chizda said, and not only that, it's that day you should go ahead and do it. The Amar Rav Yosef, I feel b'Shabbos, and even if it's a Shabbos, you go ahead and fast to remove that cholom. So my taking I say, if a person fasts on Shabbos, what should he do? So Lisa Tanisa Tanisa. Basically, one should not fast on Shabbos, and therefore he was wrong for fasting on Shabbos, but he had to do it anyways. So therefore, he fasts another time for his Aveira or quote unquote Aveira of fasting on Shabbos. Fine. Naya Mishnah. Mishnah says, so we had before the Yechidim, they would go ahead and fast the first three fasts if it did not rain by, when it was supposed to rain for the early rains. The first three rains, right? The machlokes as to what the dates were, but l'chera sometime during Mar Cheshvan. It doesn't fast. Then, if he's passed and still didn't rain, so based in Glazin, Gimel Taniyas, Acheros Alat Sibur. Bezdin comes in and they says, no, 3 more fasts Alat Sibur. Eichlin v'shaisim b'ad yom. You can only eat and drink until while it's still day out from the day before. No, but once night starts, then you're forbidden, right? The asurim b'malacha, one should not go ahead and do malacha, berachitza and bathing, v'sicha, anointing, when there's a sandal and wearing leather shoes, v'tasha shemita and having relations, v'nolin es merchatzos, and you lock up the bathhouses. And Avru Eluf, these 3 fasts passed, and they still didn't have rain. Bezdin Geizrin Alein Od Sheva. Now the Bezdin is Geyser another 7 fasts. Shehein Yud Gimel Taniyas Al Tzibur, which is basically a total of 13, because we have 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 7 is 13.
You should have just called them funny and not called
yeah, we'll see. We'll get to this Gemara thing later on. So Hare Elu Yisrael Tal Rishayna said these are even more than the previous ones. How so? Shev L'Masri even Noelinas Achanias. That these they go ahead and they're masrin, right? They will soon see they blow out, they and they cry out, and they lock up the shops, right? Which is not necessarily malacha, right? They lock up the shops, right? On Mondays, right? When they're fasting on the Mondays, so then when they get towards the end of the night, they'll open up the shops for people to get food. And Chamishi and Thursdays, they cover Shabbos, and then leave it open for cover Shabbos, people to get their whatever they need for Shabbos. And if even these 7 fasts and there's still no rain, then people basically minimize the amount of the work of Babinya and Natiya, and also with buildings and plantings, and weddings. And extending the Shalom Aleichem to one another, right? Like people who are basically hated, right, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? People who are pushed away, right? Like Tisha B'Av, people are pushed away. And Nisan, the Yechidim, the Rabbanan, they go ahead and they continue fasting until Nisan. Yatsa Nisan v'yadu b'shalom. However, if Nisan comes and starts to rain, that's actually siman klala. That's actually not a good siman. Because basically it's during the harvest season. It's supposed to be dry, and now it's rain. So there's also a siman klala.
You do a fasting?
I know. We'll see in the Gemara. We'll see. But it's a siman klala. There's no Rashi's actually on the Mishnah. Fine. So let's see the Gemara. I understand why you can't do any of these things. Eating, drinking, wearing leather, so on and so forth. Right? Because there's Tana, Rechitza, Vesicha, V'tasha Shemita, right? The bathing and anointing and relations about Malacha, Tzaru, working should be a thing that should be promoted on a fast day, right? Who wants to work? So Rav Chizda, Rabbi Yirmiyah Barava, Amar Pasuk says, Kadshu Tzoim, Karu Atzara Asfu Zikain. So the Pasuk says, if I can find the Psukim, the Pasuk says over there in Yoel, it says, basically, call it a fast, right? and call it an atzara, right? Like a holiday, right? And together the zakanim. Katzera, so just like a holiday, matzeres also b'asiyas malacha, just like that, seres it's also to do malacha. Aftanis also b'asiyas malacha. So over here, they called him to fast. They called it atzeres, so therefore they also also malacha. See, matzeres meyor. So if that's the case, then when the holiday starts, when the day before at night, right? Aftanis nami meyor. So too, all fasts will start at night. Right, they should gather at night. Some Rab Zera, the Didim Farshali, Minei, Daf Yomi, Bar Abba. It's supposed to be Amar Kar. Plus, it says Obsu Zakain. In other words, when the Zakain gather, Duma da Siva Zakain, similar to when the Zakain gather, Ma Siva Zakain b'yom, Avtom Nami b'yom. Just like the Zakainim, right? It was soon see they gather in the day. So too, then on the fast day they also gather in the day. They don't gather from the night before. Veima Mitara. So maybe they even from the night before. Some Rav Shesha B'rei David, no, Messiah the Ravuna. It's a proof of Ravuna. The Amar Mitzafra Kinufa. In the morning, the Zakanim they gather. What do they gather for? So Heichiyaf. So what goes on in this public fast? So Amar Rabbi Mitzafra Ad Palga Diyayma, from the morning sunrise until half the day till Chatzayis. Ma'anina and Pamila Damascus. Right, they deal with public matters, with city matters. They see, okay, why is this Tanis going? What are we doing that's right? What are we doing that's wrong? Right? What public matters need to be done? We need to create organizations. We not. We can't from here on out. Right? After the next quarter day, basically from Chatzos until like the 9th hour, right? So then they read from the Sefer Torah, they do the Haftorah, right? Similar to the way that we do on our fast days, right? We say the Haftorah in the afternoons and Vayechal, right? So we learn from the Torah and Mikam Ve'elech from here on out, Ba'ina and Rachmi. And then after that they daven, Shnei says, Vayakumu, Al-Amdam, Vayikru b'Sefer Torah Hashem, Elokeim, Revis Hayom, Revis Misvadim Mishtachim Hashem, Elokeim. So it says over there, right, in the court of the day, in the court of the day, they go ahead and they cry out. So we see that's divided into quarters of the day. So the quarter of the day, they read from the Sefer Torah Hashem. And the other quarter, they go ahead and they mishtachim. So real quick, so the Gemara says, maybe push it around. Maybe the first half should be the day in the morning when they should read the Torah and the Haftorah, and the afternoon is when the Rabbanim gather. So the Gemara says, no, you won't think that. All right, because the pasuk says also over there, in the same, this is Ezra. No, this is in Ezra. So it says over there. So it says, Ve'ila yasu kol cher b'divrei Elokei Yisrael al mal hagoyla. It says over there, and they all gathered, right, regarding the goal. Ksiv, it says there, Minchas ha'erev kanti matanizi v'efresh kapel Hashem. So it says over there, in a time of the mincha, that's when they got up and they daven to Hashem. So you see the davening is in the afternoon. So therefore we reserve the reading of the Torah and the davening in the afternoon, and the gathering of the Zakanim is done in the morning as opposed to vice versa. So that's the reason for the order. All right, we'll stop here. Shkoyach, everybody.